What's going on today, guys? So I want to address this absolute lie and complete fallacy that, especially people on the right and white people and black people who, for lack of a better word, we call woodland creatures, that they're constantly trying to perpetuate, and they're trying to push this narrative that slavery somehow ended um, in the West and in the United States, and that uh, white people were the ones to end it. Okay. So first and foremost, I'm just going to say this. I'm about to use a hell of a lot of ad hominems. I'm about to call this Olmec statue looking ass dude a lot of names. Okay. So if you're going to allow my name calling to detract you from the actual point which I'm making, then so be it. That's just you anyway. But this bell pepper nose ass dude is about to get it. He really is. I'm really about to lay into his ass. So, first and foremost, white people do not have to start slavery. You don't have to stop something to be the most proficient at it. You don't have to stop something to be the most prolific at it. You do not have to start something to be the most efficient at it. And you most definitely do not have to start something to be the most brutal at it. So let's just get that out of the way. No one cares who started anything. Michael Jordan didn't start basketball, but he's the best. Jerry Rice didn't start football, but he's the best at it, in his position. Dale Earnhardt didn't start racing, but he was one of the best. Wayne Gretzky did not start hockey, but he was undoubtedly the best. So this entire weak-ass argument that somehow you have to, that starting something makes some type of difference is a complete freaking lie. And I'm trying not to cuss as much. Who gives a fuck who started it? Who cares? It matters not who started anything. What matters, and the reason why white people get so much flack for it, for one, is because they're the most recent, especially from a first world country and from a pseudo-civilized country. Two would be the disproportional amount or the disproportionate effect that they had on slavery, given their population size and given the short amount of time in which they participated in the slave trade. Three is because of how brutal, how absolutely brutal it was, possibly the most brutal in the world, in which they committed. Four, the fact that it never ended. They only modified it. So let me just, calm down right quick because I can hear my voice. My register's kind of up there. So just let me bring it back down for a second. Let me calm down. All right. So what we're going to do, we are going to watch the video of this woodland creature try and gaslight you into believing that whites do not share a collective responsibility for the slavery in America because of what happened everywhere else in the world. And I'll address that too as soon as he's done. So let's listen to this. And I'll be stopping throughout just to address some of his dumbass points. Looking like the sloth from Zootopia.
White people didn't invent slavery.
Lie.
In fact, the first did.
First lie. White people were not the first to end slavery. Haiti. The black people in Haiti were the first to end slavery. 1733. Before any white country anywhere ever did anything about slavery, Haiti was the first to do it. That's the first fucking lie he told. Let's continue.
Brown Arab slavers sold millions of black Africans across Africa. Raiders sold over 1 million. Japan did take slavery to another scale when they came to Africa.
And that is the entire point. You just conceded your entire argument. Okay? He literally just gave the answer that concedes his entire argument. They took it to another scale. And that is where the difference comes in at. That is where the importance comes in at. That is where the focus on white people come in at. It's not the fact that they did not invent slavery. It's not the fact that they did slavery. It's the fact that they took it to another level. That in and of itself invalidates your entire argument, because that's why the focus is on white people so much, because they took it to another level. They did it to such a level that was much more monumental than anyone else did. They globalized it like no one else did. He just talked about the Arab slave trade. He said it was 1,000 years before the transatlantic slave trade. Fine. Who cares? So what? They did not globalize slavery. They did not transport millions of people all over the world to multiple, more than 2 continents. If you want to say Africa and Asia, okay. I mean, if you want to include the bottom of Europe, okay, we'll say 3. White people took them to all 7 continents. Well, maybe not Antarctica, so we'll say 6. So they doubled what the Arabs did in 1,000 years before. They doubled it in only the 200 to 300 years, 400 years they participated in it. You love per capita, right? We love to talk about proportionality, correct? So white people disproportionately spread more slaves around the world, and especially time-wise, than the Arabs did, who had done it for 1,300 years. Your whole argument is moot, because that's the point that people try to make. It was the scale in which white people took it to, which is why they bear the onus for the reputation that they have. Let's continue.
It's not because they were more evil. It's because they had the technology to evil on an industry. So
again, it absolutely is because they were more evil. Having the possession of the technology does not mean you should use the technology for their evil. That is no excuse. Them having the technology is not some benevolent pass for you to engage in slavery at the industrial scale in which you did. You only did it because, yes, they were more evil. If they were not more evil, then they would not use the excuse of having the technology as a reason for doing it.
Which major power stopped slavery first? The British. In large part, the pro-human.
Haiti stopped slavery first. They may have been the first major power, but they were not the first group of people, and they were not the first nation or country to do it. It was Haiti.
Values. The same values America was founded on. The same values that drove white Americans to other white Americans to free Black Americans in the Civil War. Values missing.
Again, plenty of people will tell you the Civil War was not over slavery. It was over states' rights. And it wasn't just the fighting of the white people against each other, because white people fight each other all the time. They did it all over Europe for millennia. They did it all over the world. They fought each other. They continue to fight each other to this day. So white people fighting each other is no, it does not abstain them. Is no great, again, benevolent thing that acts as a reason or a cause to diminish the fact that they participated in slavery at all. White people always fight and kill each other. So that's not even a reason to use.
In places like Libya, where today you can buy a
slavery never ended in America, because today you can buy a slave for even cheaper. It's called prison labor. As a matter of fact, a lot of prisoners get paid cents. Some get paid nothing to work for corporations. So corporations to this day can buy a slave in America. It's called a prisoner, because we have something called the 13th Amendment. And the 13th Amendment did not free slaves. The 13th Amendment modifies slavery because it has what's called an exception clause. And for those of you all who don't know what an exception clause is, especially in contractual law, go and look it up. An exception clause means that something is, but except, or something is not, except it's this, an exception clause. America never ended slavery. America only modifies slavery through an exception clause. So you can buy a slave in America right now for a lot cheaper than $400.
White people aren't better than anyone else, but they're also not. Yeah, black.
Those white people who participated in the slave trade are worse than everyone else who did not participate in the slave trade. And they may have been even worse than the ones who did participate in the slave trade, because their form of slavery was a lot worse. Prime example, under Islamic law, any slave or a person born to a free father was a free man. Not so in the United States. Slavery was hereditary. Also, in Islamic law, by Islamic law, any person born to a free mother was a free person. Slavery did not pass down. It was not hereditary as long as you had at least one parent who was not a slave. Not so in America. And the white people at that time, they made it that way. You were a slave if only you had one slave parent, whether that be your mother, whether that be your father. You were still a slave. So just by that definition, the white people in America were a lot worse, were more evil than the other people participating in slavery.
And many white people are taught means less morality. That lie makes us ignore history.
Well, statistically, that is true. Historically, that is true. Because historically, the people with less melanin have committed disproportionately or at a higher rate more evil atrocities than anyone else. The slave trade alone eliminated 1 billion people from this earth. Well, I would say colonization. Let's just say colonization, all right? Colonization alone eliminated 1 billion people from the face of the earth. No other race on this planet is responsible historically for over 1 billion people being eliminated from this planet. So historically, statistically, yes, less melanin means more evil.
And fuels hatred. Right now, much of that hatred
and
is
rightfully so that hatred is aimed toward white people because there is a reputation there. Now, of course, all white people are not responsible, but reputation does not care for those who did not participate in the reputation. You are guilty by association. That reputation is there, just like me as a black man. The reputation of being a thug, of being a criminal, of being low IQ, all of that reputation resides with me. That is something that I have to accept. That is something that we as Black Americans have accepted. We know it's not true, but we don't care. And we don't go to our wits' end to try and justify that fact, because according to society standards and what civilization is and their reputation, Reputation matters. So rightfully so, white people have the reputation that has caused them a lot of hate. Suck it up. Buttercup is life. Your ancestors should not have did the bullshit they did. But because they did, this reputation exists. Reputation is passed down just like assets, just like liabilities, just like property, which is an asset, just like anything. Reputations are passed down.
Is a hot coal that we hold in our hand. Brother, it turns every problem into white supremacy while defending black degeneracy. And when the pendulum swings,
Carmelo Anthony possibly acted in self-defense. So for you to post his picture as if he has been found guilty of murder, as if he has been adjudicated by a jury of his peers and found guilty, is a fallacy, is a false equivalent. Because that young man just may well be found not guilty by reasons of self-defense. I'm trying to keep from using just the average ad hominems, but it's really hard not to call this dude a monkey because he really resembles a monkey. But I'm not going to call him a monkey. I'm going to use other ad hominems. I'm going to call him a baboon. You fucking baboon. Using a false equivalency to try and push your narrative.
things back, white people react with hostility. And then they degenerate.
White people should not start. It is white people's fault that those type of things happen. You're posting a video of them giving the lady from Minnesota who called a young child a nigger. That's not black people's fault. Because before Carmelo Anthony did what he did, white people funded George Zimmerman, you fucking baboon. They funded Daniel Penny, you fucking baboon. They funded Kyle Rittenhouse, you fucking baboon. So for you to try and correlate the support that Carmelo Anthony got, possibly because he acted in self-defense, to the support that, I cannot call her name, but the lady he posted, the woman in Minnesota, is again another false equivalency, you fucking baboon. You're pushing false narratives. You're using fallacies to try and prove a point that's not there. White people have a reputation that was so well earned, that is so well deserved, that it cannot be gotten around. And no amount of mental gymnastics that baboons such as yourself try to use, it will not change that. Not now, not ever.
Making morality about the color of people. And evil, we are all
destroyed his entire argument. He even destroyed his own argument. Every stupid point he tried to make, I debunked clearly and with facts. And this is something that you can go and research yourself. Now, I have nothing against white people as a whole, period. This is strictly academic. This is strictly conversational. This is strictly me preventing a narrative that is trying to be pushed to absolve a reputation from people that is so well earned. So what if no one participated in slavery now? Of course, everyone is dead. But plenty of people still benefit from the institution of slavery. Plenty of people still benefit from the modification of slavery, which still exists in America today. Slavery was never ended in America. Never will this lie be allowed to perpetuate that it did. It did not. And until they do officially end it, then there is no more high ground for Americans or white people to stand on. Or the black woodland creatures, like this baboon, who try and make excuses for it, who try to find ways to soften the blow of the reputation. No, they have to own it. They have to accept accountability for the reputation that was passed down to them. And especially since it is continuing and it is ongoing. It's ridiculous. And it's not something that I know for one that I'm going to allow it to happen. I'm going to speak up on this shit every time. America never ended slavery. I cannot say it enough. White people did slavery to a scale to which no other race did, period. And they disproportionately, from a numbers standpoint, from a population standpoint, and from a time standpoint, contributed more to slavery than anyone else. Prime example, they want to talk about the Arab slave trade that was 1,300 years. And they had however many, 12 to 16 million or 18 million, 20 million slaves they transported. White people only participated in the transatlantic slave trade for 400 years and got up to over 8 to 12 million, probably 12 million. So how can you have such a disproportionate amount of time in comparison to what the Arabs did, but yet you are damn near proportional with the amount of slaves in which you transported? We're all about per capita, right? Where are my per capita warriors? Let's do the per capita and the population size of whites who participated in the transatlantic slave trade to the population size of the Arabs and Africans who participated in the trans-Saharan slave trade or the trans-Indian slave trade. Also, let's do the proportionality of the time in which they had. Whites had 400 years of slavery, maybe a bit more. Arabs and Africans had over 1,300 years of slavery. Yet, so many more, their slave numbers are comparable. Where are my per capita warriors? Let's do the per capita on that. Which one committed at a higher rate? Am I not right? And according to you all, per capita helps you determine behavioral tendencies among certain groups, right? And those tendencies, you all say, or those patterns that you recognize, are all based on race. So if we're going to look at tendencies and the proportionality of those tendencies amongst a group of people, then we must come to the conclusion that proportionally, whites are inherently more evil when it comes to slavery and the institution of slavery than the Arabs were. And again, disclaimer, I have nothing against white people. I love white people. My best friends are white. I love saying that. But again, this is all to a counterpoint. That's all I'm doing. It's countering his point. It is not to blame all white people now. No one's asking you to be guilty. You want to be fucking victims. Fuck your guilt. Nobody wants it. But we will call a spade a spade. And the reputation is there. And the reputation is well earned. And it should continue to be taught so that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. Thank you guys for listening. I will end my rant there. Catch you guys next time. America never ended slavery.